We're taking a deep dive into goal setting for 2020, Tribe, and it is happening today. We're really going to rev the engine, crank up the gears, and flick on that supercharger. And we're going to make sure that you guys leave understanding exactly how to reverse engineer your goals. We're going to get stuck into it in just 1 second. And hey, before we get started, very quickly, in case this is your first time rolling with the Unity Tribe, my name is Yanni Baumeister. Behind the camera is Richard Lellies. To my left here is Phil White, aka Dr. Phil. Hates me saying it, but I'm going to continue going. With that, he is our resident physiotherapist, and we are Unity Gym, and we teach people to become superhuman. If you ever want to find out a few of the secrets as to how we do that, we give away our free flexibility, nutrition and strength blueprints. They're all available at www.unitygym.com. The bottom of every page, you can just download it for free. It's an epic blueprint on the guts of our program, so to speak. Now, if you're watching today, very importantly, Phil and I both here are holding what we call a fitness strategy worksheet. Hold those up. Now, this is very much tailored to fitness, obviously, but you could create one of these for any goal in your life, but this is the worksheet we use with our tribe that we offer to reverse engineer their fitness goals when they come to the gym, and that's what we're going to work through today. I've linked a PDF in the description. I put Rad to work very hard creating a nice landing page and everything, so you can click on that link. It'll take you over, download the worksheet, and you can play along with us. I'm very proud of it. It was something that I don't really understand how to do, but Rad can do all that cool stuff in the background. So he's done it. It works. I tried it. It works. Get your fitness strategy session worksheet. Okay, before we get started, we're diving in. How are you feeling today, Phil?
Mate, I'm feeling good. Yeah. In honour of the new podcast listeners we're hopefully developing, I've got a fresh haircut, so I'm ready to roll. And
what we'll have to do for the podcast listeners, I know, look at that. He's looking sharp. Richie's got a new haircut too. So do I, actually. I went and got my haircut in the shower last night with my waterproof clippers.
Doesn't take long.
Yeah, mate. Man, I save so much money every year not having to get my haircut. I used to go to I used to pay $100 every 2 weeks to get my haircut and sip Drambuie and feel like a dick.
That is too much.
And I swear to God, yeah.
We digress. But I am really excited about this podcast. It's taken many of my hours of the last few days me getting it set up, so can we get some subscribers on there and to make it all worth it. But no, I think it's a really perfect platform for what we're doing here with more of these sort of talking based shows. So podcasts are going up there. We've got a link to the website, which may or may not be live at the time you're watching this. So if you click it and it's not quite getting you there, go to Anchor.fm and check out Sound of Movement podcast.
I listened to it on Audible. No, not Audible.
It's on Spotify.
Spotify.
It's definitely on Spotify.
Yeah,
it says it's on 6 of the big ones. Not quite on Apple yet, but yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there, yeah. And we sound awesome. I listened to it on the way to work this morning. I listened to yesterday's episode because to be honest, I was very disappointed in my performance yesterday. I had my head all over the place. I wasn't thinking straight, and I messed up the presentation of the content yesterday in a big way in review. But
one of those things where, we, not knowing that you screwed it up, I thought it was pretty good. Got a lot out of it. So
yeah,
but,
cool.
Can always refine these things and get them.
And we will, and we'll be better next time. All right. So yesterday, to do a very quick recap, we talked about the macro picture, and the macro picture is on a high level your purpose, your values, and then your vision of what success looks like, the grand picture, and essentially your vision. And here's a pro tip for the players at home who have watched the whole series. Your vision is a rewrite of your story. So, and we're going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow and Friday. So that's where you actually rewrite your story, how you want it to look in the future. If your story is your past, your vision is your future. And it should obviously align to your purpose and values. Now, one of the things I messed up is writing it on the board. I wrote vision second, not third. Very disappointing. But anyway, we won't dwell on the past. We'll just get excited about the future.
Get a vision about the future, hey?
That's exactly right. So today, the last three components of goal setting is really the duck's nuts of it. This is where we supercharge your success, and I really mean that. This is the key ingredient to writing successful goals. I'll quote a really good book by brothers Chip and Dan Heath. They wrote a book called Switch, and it's all about switching behaviors and creating new habits in your life. And one of the key pointers that they have sort of proven is very important to creating goals is creating tangible stepping stones that you can tick off along the way, that with each time you bring yourself closer to the goal. Now, the concept of that has been elaborated on with so many different authors and so many different social psychologists and motivational speakers and coaches that this concept of focusing on the one thing, I think it was Gary Keller who wrote the book, The One Thing. It's that what domino is going to be the most important to knock over first, that will have a domino effect and bring you closer and closer and closer to your end result. So
yeah, I like the way he says it. He says that the one thing that will make everything else you do easier. So it's
easier or redundant. Literally. So and that's what this is all about. We need to reverse engineer because the first step here on the fitness strategy session for those playing at home is to define your big, hairy, audacious goal. That's a Vern Harnish. If you want to read his book, Scaling Up, or there was a new one. Anyway, I won't go too deep into my library, but he talks about your big, hairy, audacious goal. Something that is like, it should make you nervous. If it doesn't make you nervous about achieving it, then it's not audacious enough.
If it doesn't make you nervous, like even just mentioning it to other people, then it's probably not big enough. Because
yeah, that's right, exactly. That's exactly
when you think about your BHAG, you want to be a bit like, oh,
yeah,
and I feel like a fool telling someone that.
Exactly. And so my big, hairy, audacious goals are usually 3, 5, and 10 years in advance. But for our tribe here, for their fitness, the biggest membership we sell at Unity is a 12-month membership, and so we do a 12-month fitness strategy. And so their big, hairy, audacious goal is what do they want to achieve with their health and fitness or their movement goals, their body composition, whatever it might be, in 12 months. That's the audacious goal, and it's got to be big. It's got to be big. So we define that first, and then what we do from that point on is we think, okay, so now describe what this is, why this is important to you. The why is absolutely critical. A lot of people come with very, very superficial body image goals initially, which are good because they get you in the door. But what we find is the why isn't very strong. Oh, why? Because I want to look good in my swimmers for summer. Or why? Because I want to look sexy to the opposite or to people that I'm appealing to so that I might get laid. I don't know. Like you might just want to look awesome. And that's cool. That's all right. That might be one of your values. But on a really cold, rainy day, if you're trying to change a habit of not exercising or recreate a new habit of exercising more, that why isn't going to be very strong, and it most likely isn't going to be strong enough to get you out of bed. Like this is a good one for you to put it back onto your business. I keep pushing you to ask, what do you want to do? Like think big. Why do you want to do this? Like what is your 10-year vision of your business? Do you want to just be working in a consult room doing physio and massage? Because I think it's kind of silly that you start your own business doing that. You can do that really easily working for someone else and probably pocket more money,
Yeah, so, and certainly spend a lot less time thinking about it when you go home at night.
That's exactly right, And so Phil's like, I've challenged him to think real big with his business, and it just so happens that challenging thought process and his big, hairy, audacious goal aligns really well with Unity Gym and where we want to take this business. So we're
basically I've been manipulated. But,
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I'm cognitive. I'm neuro-linguistically programming him into the direction that I want.
Some inception stuff going on here. But I think it's a really important one for fitness goals. And keep going on your
No. Look, I mean, I'll give you an example of a unrelated to fitness goals. For me, yesterday I talked about one of my values is investing and wealth creation. And my why that aligns with that is because I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to live my purpose of delivering happiness through helping other people succeed. And the best way that I feel I can do that is the first step to happiness, I believe, is health. If you're not healthy, it's very hard to be happy. No amount of money is going to make you happy. No amount of friends is going to make you happy. There's always this shadow over you of, I'm overweight, or I'm sick, or I'm broken, or I'm compromised.
You can't do the things that do make you happy. Like health is a pretty important sort of facilitator for, doing the activities you want to do.
That's exactly right.
Exploring the places you want to explore in a
That's exactly right. So on topic, running a gym, take my word, anyone who's thinking about becoming a personal trainer or running a gym, it is not the fastest way to become wealthy. It is probably one of the worst investments. It's a passion project. Not many people invest in gyms because it's a good investment, So I've had to hone my skills in investing outside of my business to make the little bits of money that I can make work for me, and so it all fits into my grand picture. That's why investing and wealth creation is a real passion and value of mine. It enables me to do the things I love, and it enables me, having more money enables me to spend more time with my friends and family. It enables me to live the other values on my value wheel if you watched yesterday's show, okay? That's one example that's off topic to health. For me, health is extremely important for me because I want to leave a legacy. I don't want to just be another gym. Rad and I and Richard, and probably Phil too, want to leave a legacy. We like Steve Jobs wanted to dent the universe in tech and computers, home computers. I want to dent the universe in the fitness industry. I believe that the fitness industry is backwards. I believe that we've programmed ourselves to want to reverse engineer a body when it's not a functional way to encourage people to exercise. And by that I mean, starting with body image and not really caring about how the body performs and feels. If we flip that around and we start with how the body performs and feels, the body image comes as a natural side effect. And I think that we need to flip that around, and that's what Unity Gym's all about. So we're not just about being another gym, we're about really leaving a legacy and changing the way people think about health. So that's my grand plan. Now, the only way I'm going to be able to do that, in my opinion, is to look the part, is to walk the walk. So becoming and maintaining a very high level of health, a very high level of movement skill, all of those things is very important to me, and that's my why. So I don't come to the gym to put 10 kilos on my bench press or to do a 10-second longer handstand. No, that's down here. That's on a superficial micro level. My macro level is about my legacy.
And weighing more than rad.
So the why is super important, and that is our step 2. Now, well, it's actually on the fitness strategy. It's not step 2. It's a part of step 1. It's a part of the BHAG and defining your BHAG. Now, step 2 is where we start breaking the BHAG down into bite-sized pieces. Now, I've got 6 and 3 months here because the BHAG is your 12-month goal. You could do this even more. Like, we used to have a 2-page fitness strategy, but I'm all about simple. I'm a huge believer in Einstein's levels of intellect, and you've got SMART, you've got I can't remember, but the 5th stage is simple, and I very much believe that. So ours is very, very simplified. You don't have to. You can elaborate on this. You can have monthly bite-sized pieces that are going to give you a check-in on a monthly basis. But step 2 is very, very important. What does your big, hairy, audacious goal, what does that look like in 6 months' time? So if your goal, let's say straight up, your goal is a movement goal that we're reverse engineering, you want to nail a 60-second handstand, what does success look like in 6 months? It could be you're doing a consistent 30-second handstand. And therefore, that's quite straightforward and easy for you. If it's a body composition goal, then you've got to think, if you're 20% body fat and you want to get to 10% body fat, the first 5% from 20 to 15 is going to come much quicker than the last 5%. So you've got to be realistic. So 6 months, you probably want to be at 14% or 13%, because that last 3% getting you to 10% body fat is going to be much harder than the first sort of 5, 6, 7% of body fat. So you got to think, what does it look like in 6 months?
Yeah. So before we go on, I think it'd be really great to be able to, apply this to some of our viewers, some of our listeners. So in the past episode, like now quite a few weeks ago with Rad, we had quite a few people put in some of their goals. So maybe it would be good to sort of work and reverse engineer maybe what it might look like. So we've got Quok here who is tuned in, appreciating your term, the duck's nuts, which I was also definitely appreciating. But yeah, he actually a week ago put in some of his movement-based goals here, so it might be worthwhile.
Cool.
Having a look at those. Before we do, one kind of question, like, because I've been sitting here thinking about my sort of BHAGs for health and fitness this year, and I guess when I think about it really hard, like, after sort of having played a lot of competitive sport and now I'm like into a time in my life where I'm really enjoying participating in everything, but I'm less like, and I really value and I feel better and my body feels, less injured and everything if I am consistent. I guess my sort of big goals are around sort of process goals rather than outcome goals. So I'm not like, I want to do a, 180 kilo, back squat or anything, but rather I'm about kind of, I have like, process goals. So I want to be ticking the box each time that I'm turning up and doing what I want to do.
So we're about to get to that.
Yeah. So I guess just how, like with...
That's step 3.
Yeah. But like when I'm thinking about my goals, would you encourage people, even if they're like, mostly process goal oriented, to have some outcome goals as their BHAGs? Or...
I always start with an outcome goal. Okay. Always start with an outcome goal, because process goals are usually linked to behavior, and process goals, the easiest way to that I believe to determine the difference between a process goal and an outcome goal is a process goal can be affected right now in present time. You can go and do something to be ticking that box, as opposed to an outcome-based goal that you cannot. So like an outcome-based goal, for example, for Quok, his first one on the list is middle splits. He's currently about 20 centimetres from the ground.
He wants to get to 20 centimetres from the ground. Currently not that great.
Not that great. Okay, so he wants to get 20 centimetres from his nuts hanging to the floor. Maybe? The duck's nuts. Okay, well, I say sack on the floor is a full middle split. And so, he's 20 centimetres from that right now. Yeah. So
you are the reason I had to change the podcast to explicit, Yanni.
I try so hard not to swear on this show, guys.
You do you.
Yeah. Now, so let's sort of reverse engineer. Sorry, I just got lost. Where are we? You distracted me with...
There we go. Middle split's 20 centimetres from ground.
Okay, and so we're talking process and outcome. So the outcome-based goal is 20 centimetres from the ground, okay? But when he goes to do a middle split right now, if I said to him, okay, warm up and do your best middle split, if he doesn't get 20 centimetres from the ground, I don't know, that's maybe not a good example, because what he's doing right now is practicing it, which is process. But the process goal would be to practice the middle splits every day, and that's something that he can affect right here, right now. So, stretching is not such a good example because the outcome is the thing. So I probably shouldn't have used that example. I'm going to use an example of weight loss because it's really black and white with weight loss. The moment you stand on a scale, it's too late to do anything. You're not doing anything that impacts the result you're looking at on the scale. So the outcome-based goal might be to lose 20 kilos. The process goal might be to cook your dinner every day so that you're controlling what goes into your mouth that aligns with the diet you want to do to get your weight loss. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk. Give me an idea about your process goals, so that I understand where you're coming from.
I'd be keen to kind of try and work through with some of these things here. So it seems like maybe Quok could he's messaged already on this show, but I guess here we've kind of got like quite a few different movement goals. So there's also like the full back bridge. So you're saying for things like this, because doing the thing is the thing that makes you be able to do the thing, that it's doesn't fit into this template so well, or is it?
No, No, it's not, because we're going to get to process at the bottom. See, my step 3 is that I've just given people examples that they can choose or make up their own. So Kwok's got a real mix there of process and outcome goals in his list.
Yeah.
You know, he's got add compression work twice a week as number 5, currently doing compression drills. So that's a process goal, you know. Double body weight squat is an outcome goal.
Yeah.
You know, so and this is a really, really good discussion to be having, because it's very important to determine the difference between the two. BHAGs are usually always outcome-based goals.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason, what we're about to get into here, describing the two differences, it's good. This is the direction I wanted the conversation to go in anyway. You can't focus day to day on outcome goals. It does nothing for you. And this is really, I think, the biggest mistake that people make. Yes, it's important to define your why. Why is your goal really, really important? Because that's what you're going to use when you're programming your brain in the execution side of things later on. That's what we're going to use to amplify your motivation and things like that, and also make sure that you sort of stay accountable to that goal. But the process goal, the habit, the rituals that you start to implement on a day-to-day basis, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
That's the big part of the execution process that people muck up. So people stop after they say, I want to lose 20 kilos. And that's the level of most people's New Year's resolutions. They go, I'm going to lose weight this year. This is it. Or I'm going to join a gym this year, you know. And that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Like, you need to go deeper than that. And because what we're doing right now is what we need to do is design a program or a plan that focuses on habits and behaviors and tasks that are going to align and get you to that goal. You know, there's a really great quote. I heard it from Ricky Ponting, who's used to be the Australian cricket captain. He said, "Are your habits today in alignment with your goals for tomorrow?"
Nice.
And that's a really, really nice way of putting it. You know, if your behavior, if your rituals, if your habits today aren't furnishing or aligning with the goals that you want to achieve tomorrow, what hope do you have of achieving those goals?
100%.
And if your focus or fixation is on the goal of tomorrow and you're not focusing on what you can impact today, you got Buckley's chance of achieving that goal tomorrow. And that's where a lot of us get really, really caught up. You know?
I like that.
So it's a very good conversation that you've opened up here. So
one other question that I'd also have about outcome goals. So with outcome goals, you can have controllable things and you can also have uncontrollable things. So like an example is if I'm thinking about, you know, my current obsession with beach volleyball, loving playing tournaments sort of most weekends. And I guess I can't pick who's going to turn up at those tournaments. I've talked about before, where sometimes you just get a Fijian Commonwealth Games athlete come and, you know, spike it at your face and there's nothing you can do but to jump out of the way. So I guess with, like, you know, it might be a goal of mine to, say, win one of the tournaments that I enter, but that's an example of where there's sort of the uncontrollables of other people that will come in and impact your goal. So would you encourage
I disagree with you. I think that you're framing your goal a little bit incorrectly there. If you're finding that to win a tournament, you have to become as good as an Olympic player, then that's what my goal would be.
Right.
My BHAG
going
would be...
real hairy there.
Yeah, seriously though, you know, my BHAG would be, okay, in 5 years' time, I want to be on par and to be able to potentially beat an Olympic player at beach volleyball. And then
Commonwealth Games.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so we've got a girl. There's a really great example of a great BHAG is that we've got a girl training here with us who's working with Phil and I as well. And she is a W League football player. So she's playing at the equivalent of the A League level, which is the highest level for women in the country. And her big, hairy, audacious goal in 3 years is to represent Australia, play for the Matildas at the next World Cup, or is it? It's a World Cup. Yeah, female World Cup. And that's brilliant. That's a brilliant, big, hairy, audacious goal. Now,
she is much further along the way than I am.
That's exactly right. So you might need 5 years or 7 years, you know. But that's where my big, hairy, audacious goals are set. You know, like I want Unity Gym as a big, hairy, audacious goal to have hundreds of locations in and I want our online community to be 20,000 strong, 10,000 in the gym and 10,000 online by 2030. That's 10 years. Like that's not a lot of time when you're talking about fucking world-changing international fitness brands. You know, it's freaking hairy. Yeah, if we want to go there, like I think it's even more hairy than playing at the World Cup. I don't know, it might be, but anyway. Yeah. So you know, guys, this is what I'm saying about shooting for the stars. If you fall short, the moon is a pretty nice place to land.
So just to like challenge this idea and have this discussion, because it's probably, you know, hopefully helpful for other people who are trying to think about their goals. So in that example where you're suggesting that I shoot for the stars and, you know, try and beat a Commonwealth Games athlete, I guess if beach volleyball, if I put it on my wheel of things that are important to me with my values and where I want to get to, if it maybe doesn't reach the same level as I guess my, you know, family or my career. If it's something that I love doing on the side, I definitely get a lot of enjoyment and it's important to me, but maybe the time necessary, the process to become a Commonwealth Games style athlete would then detract if I was to do the wheel and I'd, you know, if I spent all that time trying to become that high level of volleyball player, it would then mean my numbers are really going down in those other parts of my life that are, you know, arguably much more important to me. How would you kind of navigate that to then fit it into a BHAG, but then still realistic?
There's a lot of evidence to suggest that you cannot become a master or become really high level at more than 5 areas of your life. And that's even hard. So when you look at that values wheel of 10 things, you can't master all 10 of them or all 12 of them. 5 is about the limit, and that's for someone who really, really understands productivity hacking and is, you know, strong-minded and doesn't get overwhelmed with a little bit of stress and anxiety, you know. So, and that's why I went deep in the psychology beforehand, because the more hairy and audacious your goals are and the more you commit yourself, the more stressful they become, you know. Seriously. And so if you're not working on managing the emotional side of goal setting and the potential of failure and all these sorts of things, then it's going to be hard. And that's why I like to start with the psychology part, you know. But, you know, your stars might be to hold your own with one of those Olympic players, but your moon will be that you just dominate everyone else. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting there. I mean, here's the thing, guys. There's nothing wrong with failure. Part of goal setting and becoming a master of goal setting is building a really good relationship with failure, and that you learn from your failures and that you grow from your failures. And I've failed hitting my goals many times. But
the important thing that you do, that I've really enjoyed, at the end of last year, you reflect on the last year, you look at your last year's goals, you see where you fell short, and then you can either decide to, you know, if the reasons you fell short were controllable or uncontrollable. That was, from my perspective, you having a look at like what can you impact there, and is it worth the you know, the change in everything else you do to then overcome those.
That's exactly right. See, here's the thing. The language that you're using there is really interesting, controllable and uncontrollable. I believe that is 100% controllable. Everyone is neutral. Everyone starts off neutral. Yes, there is slightly different genetic benefits and things like that. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that genetics only play a very small role in someone's success. Their environment and their upbringing plays a much bigger role, what they're exposed to, you know. And so I do believe that everyone starts off on a fairly neutral ground. Everyone has 24 hours in the day. I mean, that's not entirely true. You know, some people are born with abnormalities, deformities, and start with a compromised body. But if you've got, you know, everything functioning properly and all of that, I do believe that everyone is sort of neutral and we can achieve incredible
but I guess
things.
There are some pretty hard uncontrollables in that, like, if you hadn't had a goal to do a, you know, 2-minute handstand and then you got hit by a car and then you spent, you know, most of your year in hospital, then you can appreciate that there are times when it is absolutely uncontrollable. But I do think sometimes people do attribute uncontrollable parts of their life when maybe if they were better planned or, maybe thought about it. But I think it is important to acknowledge that there are some things that you just, you know, will impact your success with the goal. And that's why I think that reflection period, being really honest with yourself, if it was, you know, did I fall short because of something that I did versus, did I fall short because something just happened in life that I couldn't have?
That you
And
couldn't-
I think because otherwise
absolutely.
people become really, disenfranchised with like why they're, not achieving things if you don't go through that reflective process. And then you might think kind of, setting goals is meaningless. But if you're learning from those failures, then it's a really worthwhile.
Absolutely. Look, a great book to read that will open your mind about this is You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I've read a lot of books like that about really, really amazing people who have overcome incredible things to achieve success at levels that most of us only dream about, And so I do believe that it really comes down to the individual's mindset and how strong they are and how strong-willed they are to overcome whatever's thrown in front of you.
Totally. Shout out to my mate, Ollie Doucette, who was just the first amputee to ever ride Nazaré, which is like big wave surfing in Portugal, the biggest waves in the world. And,
Boom, there you go.
He had a bike accident, motorbike accident in Bali 2 years ago, lost his lower leg, and then now he's back riding the biggest wave in the world. So it's amazing what people can do if they
That's
decide
exactly
that
right.
they're not going to be held down.
Yeah.
And even though he had an uncontrollable, tragedy that could really send someone the other way, he's
That's exactly
worked with it,
right. And David Goggins, I've never seen him speak in real life, but I've listened to his audiobook, which is much like a podcast, and I've read his book too. He's completely 100% convinced that anyone can achieve anything. And honestly, what he's achieved with his body and overcome is quite phenomenal. I fell off a horse and really badly damaged my spine and was told that I'd never be able to do things that I do today. And that's small scale in comparison to an amputee who's lost a limb and then gone and run a marathon or become an Olympic swimmer or, all these things. Man, we are so capable of doing things far beyond what our expectations are. And so I'm erring on the side of caution when the word can't or outside of our control is used, because in my belief, it's just a matter of rising to the occasion and not allowing yourself to get beat up. But, on that note, it requires an immense level of psychological and emotional training to be able to take yourself there. And most people just aren't willing to put that effort in. This is what I talk about with my history of depression and suicidal attempts and things in my 20s to where I am now. It took a lot of training. It took a lot of training, mental and emotional training, to be in a position where that is just a complete part of my history that I don't even think about much anymore, except to share my story, educate and motivate other people, And I know a lot of people who have overcome quite serious tragedy to achieve amazing things. I know that we've digressed a little bit there, but I think that's important, because there are a lot of people there who have limited beliefs about what they can achieve, and that's one of the big problems. That limiting belief often stifles your ability to just get started. And setting big, hairy, audacious goals is not about fearing failure. It's about just really having a crack, because I cannot stress this enough. Shooting for that goal and failing is no problem at all, because there's a very high probability that you will have really seriously altered your trajectory in life just having a crack at it. And that reflection that Phil talked about, that we do every year and that I encourage everybody to do, and then acknowledging what the win was and what and the lessons that were learned if you along the way. Oh man, it's a powerful process. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we should try and get through to the end of this sheet maybe continue with an example that you're on, just to really clearly show that last step as well.
Absolutely. So the three areas of sort of goal hacking that I focus on is motivation, movement, and nutrition in here. And those usually align with whatever anyone wants to achieve when they come in here. So to give you an example, now once we've got our 6-month and our 3-month stepping stones that we can check in on, and that's really important because and they need to be tangible. They're outcomes that we can say, okay, I'm on track, or I need to recalibrate at that 3-month mark or that 6-month mark. And I used to do it on a monthly basis so that everyone had a monthly check-in. I've just simplified it here so you guys can elaborate on that depending on how deep you want to go. The more stepping stones, usually the better, because the lesser the leap between steps to get there, you know. And it's important to check in and see whether you're on track and reflect and review, and then maybe alter your trajectory or your expectations, you know. So now we're on the point where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, metaphorically. And so a couple of examples here, I just list 6 for people in motivation, might be to review this fitness strategy session every day. Because remember, goals are far more powerful when we're writing them down every day. So I like to talk about diarizing or reviewing the strategy and the goal every single day. That's very, very powerful, okay? Second might be to post progress to our group. So in fitness, I was going to say fitness first. In Unity Gym,
whether you used to work there back in the day.
Yeah, I worked at a big box mainstream gym for 10 years as a trainer and a coach. For us, we have our tribes. We have our UMS online coaching tribe. We have our Unity Gym online tribe, and we have our movement mastermind, which is really a massive group for anyone who we've interacted with online. They may have bought a standalone program, downloaded one of our blueprints, something like that. It's a point for us to stay connected with those people. So what we suggest is one of the final steps, setting a goal, writing it down, creating a plan, which we've done now. The final step is creating maximum accountability. And in the research, the studies have indicated that the best way to do that is to appoint or recruit people who are like-minded, who you can check in with regularly. So a coach is a really good example, employing some form of a coach. Becoming part of a tribe of people who are sort of striving for the same goals. And that's why we've created these online tribes 24/7, 365 days a year. Someone can post on there and get some feedback, get some support, get a little bit of motivation if that's what they need, you know, get some accountability. And that's how we maximize accountability. So second is their post progress to the group. Read daily affirmations. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. That's about the programming process. Start daily meditation. Again, we've spoken a bit about that. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow and Friday. Create a vision board. Vision is insanely powerful. You know, writing your vision down is only one step of the vision creation process. The next step is to create what's referred to as a vision board, where we actually create like visual pictures. We can draw them, we can illustrate them, or we can just get them off Google or stock images that represent the things that you want to achieve, you know. And then finally, keep a gratitude diary, which is really just a daily check-in that I do in the evening, where I write down the 5 things that I did this day that I'm truly grateful for, or the 5 things that happened to me this day that I'm truly grateful for, that align with all of this sort of stuff. So that's the motivation.
Love it.
Do you want to read out the examples for movement?
So we've got start evening stretching, train 5 days per week, pre-workout foam rolling, start masterclass program, use the program scoreboard, or schedule remedial therapy. So for you, you might think about goals that are particular to your particular movement goals. So Holy K Knight, Tommy, got one of the guys at the gym. He's got in the previous video where we got people to put in their goals about acro skills. So looking at butterfly twist and corkscrew. So, you know, he might, rewrite those 6 goals to be more related to, some like acro stuff would be in there instead of, maybe sub out foam rolling some. Yeah.
You've got a lot of goals, brother, and so does who are we talking? Quack before. And so that might be something that you need to think about, like really becoming laser focused on the handful of things that you want to do.
So Rad was encouraging about 5 movement goals.
Yeah, like maximum.
Yeah, but that I think even sits under maybe your BHAG. I think it's kind of like BHAG, those other things.
Yeah,
and then,
that's right. Yeah, because what we've found is that when you we've got Daniel Vadnal from Fitness FAQs and Cy Monster coming on the show in 2 months in March, And it'll be interesting to listen to those guys talk, because I've spoken to them both about this before, and they literally have one movement that they want to unlock, and they just hone on that, and they laser focused on that until they unlock it, and then move on to the next thing. Most recently for Dan, it was his planche. He wanted to do a 5-second planche, and man, that boy put the time and hours in on it. It was phenomenal to hear how many hours he was spending on planche training, you know? So that's
another example on the acro. Like, what you could also be doing there is you could be doing, looking at other people doing it. So there's a lot of research show that for learning new skills, like the mirroring thing is really important. So watching people who do perform it really well, so going into YouTube, having that kind of daily practice of watching the skill, and that starts to like kind of teach your brain a little bit. Also, imaginary training is a really powerful tool for skills development. So you're trying to really put yourself in the zone, really trying to emulate what it would feel like, the sounds, the smells of being in your gymnastics training center and doing some imaginary training. There's amazing research into just the power of the brain to learn skills there. So you can see how you could change those 6 where, you know, these 6 might not necessarily be the most relevant for your goals, but this is a good place to start.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. To give you an example, when I was boxing, I was an amateur boxer for about 16 years. Part of our warm-up process before a bout was to sit down, because as an amateur, we were only fighting either 3 3-minute rounds or 4 2-minute rounds, depending on the federation and the organisation that was organising the event. We used to have to sit down and visualise the entire bout from start to finish, each round, and how we were going to feel and what we were going to think about during our 60-second recovery periods between rounds, like the entire thing. And so we sat there, and it was basically a 12-minute meditation. And every time I took that seriously, I performed astronomically better.
Yeah, did the same thing for World Championships with Frisbee, with Ultimate Frisbee. Had the same process, and it's a really powerful tool.
It's absolutely powerful.
If people are interested, in my sports science degree, I did lots on motor control and learning, and a lot of this kind of brain stuff came into it. So potential topic for future if people are interested in it. So let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of people letting us know, let us know if you like what we're doing. Hit the like button, please. And also get some comments in there and tell us about your goals and if you've had a go at doing what we've been talking about the last few days, and if you're giving the fitness strategy worksheet a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one last thing. I would actually like to say, anyone who downloads the fitness strategy session and it works, just comment yes, downloaded, so that we know that whole thing worked. Yeah. The last thing I'll quickly rip through
is... also if you've subscribed to the podcast.
Yeah,
let us know,
that's
please.
right. Yeah. The last, we'll give you the examples of what I've got here for nutrition. Start the nutrition system. We provide our tribe a nutrition system to follow. Keep a personal diet diary. Do weekly meal prep. Optimize macros intake. Use a nutrition exercise app like MyFitnessPal or something like that. Use nutrition supplements to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So those are just some basic examples.
Another one I quite like for nutrition is that like when you're in the shop, don't buy the thing that you know that you'll binge.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Much easier to make that decision once.
Another great one that's not there is to start shopping immediately after you've had a really good hearty meal, so that you go to the supermarket on a full belly and you're not, you don't have food cravings going on and that hit while you're there. So there's all these really great ideas. If you guys need some more, hit us up in the comments section and we'll happily
let us know which ones you put in as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now we're going to wrap it up. We're going to bring this in for a landing. I'm very excited about the next couple of days because we're going to go deeper into, the concept of execution, how this actually looks on a day-to-day basis, what your plan should start to look like and things like that. We'll go deeper into that step 3 that we sort of brushed over today. And it would be great to get you guys in the comments section over the next 24 hours to comment some ideas about things that align with your goals. We want to know that you guys are thinking about this specifically to what you guys are trying to achieve this year.
Yeah. Subscribe and tell your friends.
That's right. And if you don't like what we're doing, double tap that dislike button. We will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.